Hey, what is going on YouTube? And it's Kid up here again, and it's been a week since my last video. And the reason why I'm uploading so frequent now is because I'm just trying to test out the YouTube algorithm because it's been not doing very good for me. So I'm just trying to upload a little bit more often and see if that changes anything. So in this video, I'm gonna go back to my previous design exercise series. So if you don't know about that one, it's basically I'm finding very popular designers or design out there in the internet and download it and let you guys to try to mimic it, copy it. And I'll run you through the entire thing, how to copy a design. And in my opinion, I think mimicking a very popular design is the quickest way or the best way to learn how to design. And I think just anything in life in general, right? If you can copy, mimic the best player in the world, then that is what you can get improve very quickly, right? Imagine the best teacher is teaching you this kind of design stuff. So that is the whole idea behind that. And the first design task, and if you look at my screen, is basically just to show you, simple website, how that works, right? So if you haven't checked out the first design task yet, I would definitely strongly recommend that you follow that task and finish that task before you get into the second task. Because, like the whole design exercise right now is task 1 is definitely going to be a little bit easier than task 2. So the level just keep going up and up, right? I'm going to introduce more complex design component and structure for you guys to mimic and shadow, right? So task 1, as you can see here, it's just very basic website design. You have typography, left and right layouts, and like how do you basically determine this kind of design patterns, right? Like this kind of padding sizes, then the typography and all that stuff, right? So that is something that you will learn in task 1. And I know that a lot of people actually check that out as well, because that's on Figma, where I can see who actually view the file. So actually quite a lot of you guys have viewed the file, but I don't really get a lot of people that are uploading your link, right? Like I said, like if you finish the design task and if you want to share it with the whole world, then I have a link down below in the description that you can just push up the design the comment link so everybody can see your work as well. So all of these kind of like link that where you can upload your Figma file for me to review is all in the description down below. So the task link and everything you can go check out in the description down below. So first task is easier, right? Design, web design. And the second task right now, this one that we're going to work on, is a little bit more difficult, right? A little bit more related to what I do every single day right now, because like I'm not just a web designer, right? I'm more focused on like, UI and UX design. And this is what we're going to get into right now, like the gist of the whole UI and UX thing, right? And the product or the website that we're going to look at today is called Product Hunt. So if you have not heard of Product Hunt, right? Product Hunt is basically a website for startup owners, right? So let's say when I was launching my Clascity, and then I put my product on Product Hunt, and hopefully more people are gonna know about my product. So potentially these are the people that, if you are a UI and UX designer, right? These are all mostly SaaS products, and these are the company that you would like to work for eventually, right? Or work with if you're a freelancer. So this is great, and I think the website in general is just very spacious, very clean, and not a lot of gradient shadow, and just very clean looking website that you can really apply a lot of these design patterns or this look and feel to your next project. So I think by mimicking it, you're gonna learn a whole bunch from this website, especially if you just take a look at the layout right now, right? You can see that there's a lot of repetitive information too, right? Like how this content block get structure, right? They have the thumbnail on the side and then the content block on the right hand side, right? Like this kind of design pattern that is happening very, very often, right? When you have a thumbnail, title, description, and then some little call to action, how can you lay things out like that, right? So by learning this kind of design pattern, I'm pretty damn sure that you guys can apply to your other project. And how do you break out a section, right? When your content is very repetitive, how do they use to break it out? Right? You can see that they use some kind of bigger typography with the divider to break out the section a little bit to give you some breathing room, right? And then how much padding do they have to separate the main content from the side column, right? So all of these things, design pattern stuff like the blog post style, right? Stuff like that, then you can definitely learn it. And also, this is the first page that we're going to design for, like the home page, and then getting to the second page, right? Like this is the second page that we're going to also be working on too. And it is, the pop-up style, right? Like pop-up is something that, like one element that you're going to be designing for pretty much like every other day as a designer. So how do you create a pop-up in your Figma file? And that is something that we're going to be learning as well, right? Throughout this copy exercise. Padding, and then how do you create a card within your container, and then how do you create kind of like a YouTube comment style, stuff like that, right? So by designing this, by mimicking that, you're gonna catch up a lot of design patterns. And I think, in my opinion, right, like UI and UX is all about design patterns and all about common sense, right? So more design pattern that you have in your memory bank, the more stuff that you can potentially use when you're working on a new project, right? So you definitely want to learn more about this kind of design pattern. Then eventually when you're working on a new project, then like what kind of thing can you pull out from your memory bank, right? Typography like that as well, right? How, like, why do they use this kind of all cap character as a title header? And I mentioned this kind of effect on one of my typography tutorial videos, so you can check that one out as well. I'm gonna link them all down below. Stuff like that, right? Thumbnails and stuff. So this is what we're gonna design for. And if you go back to the Figma file that I have in here, right, you can see that I already pulled in the entire website for you guys in here. And also the font, you can grab the font from here directly, so you don't have to find what kind of font they're using. They're using San Francisco font, which is from Apple. So in here, you can see that, there are 12 column grid that I pull in from here. And of course, I did not design for this website, right? I did not know exactly the dimension of the grid, but I'm just trying to guess it, right? Like I created one by myself, just trying to guess it, and you can see that it's not exactly perfect. But so when you're designing it, right, you better follow my grid and not follow exactly what they have. If you follow my grid, right, then you can see that this box in here, right, like don't follow out of it here, just follow right to my grid, right? And for the content block as well. So instead of just moving it around, right, you want to follow exactly to the grid, right? Basically to exactly the grid. Like 3D, I don't know, right? Like Bay, and then of course the font is too big, so you're gonna have to look in the website and find out what kind of font they're using, and I will tell you how a little bit in the video. But I also mentioned like how can you copy all of this visual detail from the website in the last video as well. So just so you know, so you see, this is the basically like this section right here. And then you can see that, like they put this whole content block into an 8-column grid. So this is 8 column, right? They put the whole thing into 8-column grid in here. So you can see how they separate the contents, right? And then there's one empty column in the middle to kind of divide the section a little bit, right? So you know that in here, this is a divided column. And then they have a 1 pixel divider in here as well. So look at this pay attention into, like, when they're designing it, right? How do they divide the contents? Because this kind of divider is super important when you're working on your design project, right? You want to make sure that you place your divider in the right position to separate the content so people can understand, okay, we're getting in the different section right now. Like the use of divider in here is definitely something that you would like to learn as well, right? So 3 column again, 3 column for the sidebar. And so that is the general kind of layout for the copying exercise, right? But then getting into the details now, how can I actually get this icon, right? So for the icon, we have a couple of ways to find icons. And if you want to go to lazy route, if you don't want to follow exactly this icon, one of the plugins that I would recommend you guys use is a plugin called the material design icons. So this one is basically pulling the Google icon. It's definitely not going to be the same, so you can just type in chat, right, and see what they have in here. So the icon itself is definitely not going to be the same one that is used by this design, right? But if you want to go lazy, you can just use this icon. It's not that big of a deal. But if you say that I really want to follow exactly, right, then that is something that I would recommend as well. And one way to actually get that icon is to go to that website. And I mentioned a couple of times in my previous video, exercise video, that you can actually inspect the website elements and find out what that icon is about, right? So in this case, if the icon is a SVG, meaning a vector icon, then you can actually download that vector icon, but we have to hack it around a little bit. You can just like download, right? So how can I actually get this icon? So you can go to the inspect view and edit the HTML, and basically this is the icon itself, right? Because it's basically a code-based icon. So you can just grab this whole code in here and then go to your basically go to your notebook, notepad or whatever, right? Like whatever software that you use. I'm using Sublime Text right now. It's a very popular design software that engineers use. So you can just basically place it in here, right? Any kind of notepads or whatever like code typing software you can use is fine. It's very simple. Just type it in here and then save it. When you save it, just give it a name, right? You can name it like chat. Sorry, you can name it like chat icon. And then remember at the end you want to type in the M and as SVG, and then when you save it, and then that is your icon, right? That you get the icon already. So right now, to use the icon, basically just go back to Figma here and then find out where did you save that icon, right? So you can find it. Let me just quickly pull it up in my design file right here. Icon, sorry, give me a sec, I'm just trying to find it. So right here, and then I can just pull it back up in here. So you can see the icon is in my design Figma file, right? Then I can customize it like that. So that is one way that you can pull design icon out from the website. And that is just icon, right? But remember, all of these things that you have to follow exactly as the Figma file, right? And that is, the whole ideas about copying exercise, right? So how to find out what is the font size of this header size and also like the color of the fonts and all that stuff. And again, I mentioned in the previous video that you can inspect the elements on the website, and then that is how you can find out, right? So this font, the header font is 16 points, right? 16 points. And what is the color for that too? You can find the color in here too, right? Just click compute it and then go to the color section, and then you can copy this color code back to your projects, right? So that is how you know exactly what the color is and why the color is very important, right? Because color is actually a very important design element as well. Like you want to use color to create the information hierarchy, right? For example, in here, I think the title is more important than the description, and that's why they use a darker color as a title. So you want to make sure that you catch every single thing of this information right? So this is the design pattern again, right? You save it in your mind every single time when you do it. Maybe title should be a darker color than the description text. So that is a design pattern that you want to save in your memory bank that you can reuse in the future projects, right? So that is the first one. And then the second page, again, right, just going to quickly go over this. So for the second page, something to remember too, right? Like other than just following exactly this icon again, button sizes that you probably practiced in the previous video, it is one thing that I want to pay attention to is the padding sizes, right? To divide this kind of content block. So for the padding sizes, right, like one way that I always use to kind of measure the dimension is just simply creating a box in here. So you can see 20 pixel. So that is one way that I always use to measure my sizes. So 20 pixel is what they use throughout the entire page, right? You can see that they use 20 pixel in here and then 20 pixel on the side as well. So they actually use 20 pixel in a lot of places based on what I saw, right? 20 pixel in here, 20 pixel on the side card, right? So any kind of card like that, you can see that they use a very consistent 20 pixels throughout the entire design system, right? So here 20 pixel, and then down below, I think they're using 20 pixel in here as well. Yeah, so you can see that 20 pixel in here, 20 pixel here. So you can see 20 pixel is used as a divide kind of language throughout the entire page, right? So you really want to pay attention to these little details, right? How many pixels are they used to separate the contents like that? And I always use 20 pixel too, right? When I'm designing for design card like that, sometimes you don't need like 30 pixel big. So 20 pixel is a pretty decent font padding size. But how about like separating between two different columns, right? In a grid like that, then they use, I think in here, let me confirm, it's 30 pixel, right? So 30 pixel in here, 30 pixel in here. So something that you want to keep in mind, right, when you're designing this, just make sure that you are knowing the design system. And again, this system is when you're studying this design and trying to copy it, then you will learn this kind of design system patterns, right? So that is the whole kind of like design exercise is about, right? Just trying to memorize or find out what is the design system that they've been using in this kind of design and trying to copy exactly pixel by pixel. And I know that, just by looking at the task right now, like this whole thing seems super intimidating, right? Like if I'm a new designer, then I look at that, right? You'll be like, wow, that is very difficult, very hard. But I promise you that, everything kind of has a learning curve, right? The first task, design task, it has a learning curve. And the second task right now, you're getting to this, right, is a level up. So definitely it feels a lot more difficult, right? But I promise you that once when you figure out how this design software works, and if you don't, right, again, go on YouTube, there's a lot of tutorial about Figma. So I'm pretty damn sure that you can figure out this whole entire thing. So just trying to learn it, right? If you can push through this barrier, if you can design something, if you can, copy exactly pixel by pixel, I guarantee you that your design skill is going to be a lot better in your next project, right? So level, maybe like after you finish task 1, you're going to be level 1. And then when you finish task 2, maybe you'll be like level 15 or something like that, right? So if you can push through, your design skill is going to be a lot better, and that is something that I can promise you. By the way, before I leave you there, I just want to say that, like this kind of thing, this kind of logo, right? Like you don't have to copy this logo from exactly the mockup because, you probably can't find the same logo. But one way that I would just tell you is you can either just leave it in a rectangle like that. I think that is totally fine. You can leave it in a square, but if you want to fill something in here, this like content reel is a very popular plugin or a very handy plugin that I use to just put up some contents where I can see that you can just bump in like some random icons in here, right? So it doesn't really matter that much. And also same with this kind of copy test, right? You don't have to, exactly copy this entire comment text. You can just use something very similar, very simple, like just go to logarithm, right? Then just copy some like random copy. You don't have to copy exactly like by those comment tests. But what you want to focus on is really just the spacing sizes and all these design details. So that is it for this design exercise. And if you find it helpful, if you think that I helped you out in any way, definitely give this video a thumbs up. And remember I said, right, I'm trying to play with the algorithm a little bit better and just trying to understand the YouTube thing because it's not been doing very well for me in this channel. But yeah, I'm just trying to figure out a way to kind of boost it up a little bit. And if you can give me a thumbs up, that would be really helpful. And also, if you like my content in general, subscribe to this channel and also follow me on a lot of the social media links down below. And yeah, I'll talk to you next in the next video. Cheers.